Okay, again, this is Paul Quarter, Perfect Golf Event. Today we're going to talk about an overview on launching your 2026 golf event. We cover a lot of topics. We go pretty quickly because there's a lot of things to cover. I know you're busy. On a housekeeping note, if you want a copy of the presentation, be glad to send it to you so you don't have to take down notes on everything. You can have the full presentation. And we're also recording it so that if you want to listen to it later on, it'll be posted on Perfect Golf Event under the resources tab. There's going to be some templates in here that we're going to show, and all the templates that we talk about can also be downloaded when you go to Perfect Golf Event. If you click on the resources tab, there's a link to webinar handouts, and then you can have them right there to download. So again, if you have any questions, put them in the question box. I'll look at them towards the end. Otherwise, we're going to get started. When you're running a golf event, right, as I say to many people, first of all, congratulations, and second of all, condolences. I don't think anybody who hasn't run a golf event understands how much goes into organizing a golf event. There are so many different elements to doing it successfully, and you can't really skip a step if you're going to have a successful event. So whether it's organizing your committee, getting your marketing done, picking the course, your format, your contest, all the things you have to do can be overwhelming at times. So we're going to walk you through some steps today that hopefully can be a little bit helpful in terms of clarifying some of that. The thing that's important to know is there's 300,000 charity golf events, so you're competing with a lot of other events out there. If you haven't got your website up yet and have your event launched, then you're behind the ball a little bit. You need to be out there. Even if you haven't finalized all your sponsorship packages yet, and we'll show you those in a minute, you really want to make sure people know when the event is, where it is, so they can put it on the calendar. Because again, you're competing with lots of events in your market, and so it's important that you're out there so people can say, "Hey, I want to play in this event," and they don't get distracted by another event. And also, we want to make sure that the sponsors have put aside money in their budget for you, so that when you ask them to sponsor, they can say, "Oh, yeah, I reserved some funds for your event." So that's important to be out there as early as you can with your event. I run about 12 events personally, and I've had all my websites and everything up since August of last year for my 2026 events because I wanted everybody to know it, put it in their budget, put it on their calendar. So make sure you're out there with your website. You want to get early. For example, here's the event I'm doing in Philadelphia. It's an April event, but we had this site up last August, and we're able to start promoting it, which has been very successful getting people to put it on their calendar. When you're doing your event, a couple things, and again, I've been doing this for 16 years. I look at a lot of websites. I'm going to give you some tips now that could help you have maybe a stronger reaction to your event and results. First of all, make sure you clarify your message. Why are you raising money? Players and sponsors need to understand why you're going out and raising money. So that's important. It's got to be all over your website and all your communications. And you want to make sure your message is very specific. So you don't want to have something that says, okay, the money will support our scholarship fund. It should say, hey, it's going to go to two $5,000 scholarships, etc. Instead of saying the funds are going to go to a new animal shelter, you can say 100% of the proceeds are going to be used in medical equipment. So the more specific you can be on what you're offering and why you're raising the money, the better response you're going to get. So again, this is a story of why we're doing it for Philadelphia Orchestra. We're doing it for education of the youth market in Philadelphia. You want to make sure that you've created your brand. And what I mean by that is, do you have an event logo? Do you use consistent colors? Do you have a tagline? Again, on this event on the left is an event that I think I've done for about 11 years now. And we've always used the same color, the same tagline, and all of our signs, our banners, everything we do has the brand. And you're business people, and you know how important your logo is, your brand is to your normal business. And it's important that you do that with your golf event so people get recognized and say, hey, I recognize this event. I've been in it before. I'm coming back next year. So make sure you've got a brand set up for your event. Even just a simple logo helps. Then as you're getting started, make sure you've got your resources put together. And we'll be more specific on some of these in a minute. But first of all, you want to have a great committee. It doesn't help unless you've got a really solid committee. usually 8 to 12 people is a good committee. And you want to make sure it's loaded with business people, men and women in the community who can bring in players and sponsors. You've got to have a good golf course that's attractive and has some experience with events. It can be a public course or a private course, but you want to have one that's going to execute your event properly. You're going to need to identify as many supporters as you can for your marketing campaign. You can't go out and have an event just that's going to go out just for the general public and say, hey, we're having a golf event, come on out. You have to have a list of people that recognize your organization and why you're trying to raise money. So you need a database, which we'll chat about in 1 second. And when to get to it, so when you're building your database, remember that this is an ongoing process. You have to have a list of people that you're going to market your event to. It could be past supporters, past golf participants, committee members, and then I ask my committee to always come in and send me names of people that I can add to the database. Staff and supporters, vendors. This is important. Anybody you write a check to, they should be in your database and they should be supporting your golf event. Referrals. I'll talk about how to get referrals in a minute. Golf course database. Now, the golf course isn't going to give you their list of members, but they may be willing to go out and do an email for you to the database saying, hey, we're having an event at our golf course upcoming in June, and it's going to be a fun event. So here's a link to the website. And then there's community directories. Each one, I live in Clayton, Missouri, outside of St. Louis, and they publish a community directory that's got 500 businesses listed with their contact information. And so that was something that we took that, we entered all that information into our database for our marketing, and we really had good results for it. So there's lots of ways for you to build your database, but you have to do it. And when I say ongoing, even after one of my events is over, I'm still trying to collect names of people to put in the database. Then you want to put all these on a tracking form. So when you're meeting with your committee, you can say, hey, I've got a potential sponsor, Commerce Bank. Who's going to follow up from the committee? What is the potential going to be? And you want to make sure that this thing is full of potential sponsors and potential teams. And this is how you gauge how you're doing as you're getting towards your, to your goals. One of the things I do, this is just a side tip. What I found out at golf events is that 75% of the people that come to the event are guests, and I don't even have them in my database. So for my events, I have a drawing, and I have them fill this out, and I say, hey, if you want the photos, basically I say to them, hey, if you want the photos for the event, fill this information out. We'll email you all the event photos, your team photos. Everybody wants those. So they fill these out. Then I have a drawing. Somebody's going to win some golf balls. The key is I'm trying to get more people that are at the event captured. So when I do my next event, I have them in the database. Last year, I had an average of 45 new contacts. So I might have had 120 golfers there, but I didn't have all their contact information. So this is just a simple way to get information so you can build your database so you have people coming back year after year. You don't want them to come to your event and escape without you knowing who they are. When you organize your event, this is an important step with your committee. You want to make sure you've set up your goals. If you've been in any of my webinars before, I always cover this topic. But there's a spreadsheet you can download on Perfect Golf Event, and you can plug in your prior year results. Then you can plug in all your goals by category for this year. Then you can plug in all your expenses, projected what your past expenses were, and what your future expenses are. And then if your revenue does not meet your expectations, then you have to go back up and figure out more ways to increase your revenue. We'll give you some options in a minute, or figure out how to cut your expenses. But this is a very important step with your committee, is making sure you've got your financial plan put together. And I want you to have very specific goals. So you don't just want to say, oh, we want to have $100,000 in revenue. You want to break it down. I'm going to get this much for my putting contest, this much for this sponsorship, this much for a raffle, whatever it is. You got to be very specific on how you do that. When you're doing your golf course, a couple tips on that is make sure you download our golf course checklist. Even if you've already signed the contract, you want to make sure you look at this checklist to avoid any surprises the day of your event. So you're going to ask the golf course questions. If you haven't picked a golf course, they're going to ask you questions. So you want to be prepared for that so you get the best dates and the best rate. Um, you want to make sure you ask them the right questions so that you avoid surprises. And that one of the most important ones, this is, I tell you, is at the top of the list for me, is the rain policy. A lot of events miss this. So if it rains the day before your event, okay, it gets rained out. Do you have a rain date? I always have a rain date scheduled, and I have it on my website so that when people say, I see your event got moved, what's the date it's there? So we're not issuing refunds, you just have to move it to the rain date. But one of the things you want to clarify with the golf course is what happens if it rains during the event? And I've had that happen. So let's say you start playing, and most golf courses have a rule that if you play less than 9 holes and it gets rained out for rain or lightning, you can come back and you can have a full 18-hole event with no penalty. But if you play 9 holes or more, they're going to say it counts as a full round. But I'm sure some of you are thinking, I don't even know what my policy is with my golf course. So this is just a tip to avoid some surprises. Get yourself some information on that. Make sure your website's up. Again, if you have a perfect golf event website, if you had one in 2025, you know that it's really easy. Just one click, you can copy your event over, get it set up for 2026. It moves all the players and sponsors onto email lists. You want to get your site up there and you make sure your registration is open. Again, you should be open right now. No matter when your event is, you should be open and people should be able to register. You need to get on their calendars. And again, hopefully you're using Perfect Golf Event, but if not, here's a checklist of things you should make sure you've got included, whatever thing you're using for your online registration. Okay, before we get into the player packages, tips on the committee. This is a good time to add new committee members. Maybe somebody played in your event last year and said, hey, this was a great event. How do I get involved? Great, I've got a committee. Why don't you join me? One of the things that's really important in doing a golf event, again, for those of you who signed on late, we're recording this and I'll be glad to send you a copy of the presentation. Focus your committee on teams and sponsors. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a committee meeting, whether in person or joined by Zoom, and they're talking about the hors d'oeuvres for the event. What are we going to serve as the hors d'oeuvres? I don't care about the hors d'oeuvres right now. What I care about is how many sponsors do we have and how many teams do we have. And your mission as the organizer is to get that message across. Let's always be working on teams and sponsors, and we can worry about the hors d'oeuvres later. And I have, again, I have a lot of documents that you could use. This one's committee text. There's another document. Again, if you go to Perfect Golf Event and click on the resources tab, all these things that I'm talking about, all these checklists are there. You can just quickly download them and have them as a reference point. Here's something I did this year, and I'm really excited about it. Just a tip. I actually had little business cards made up. For this event, my chairperson's Rochelle, so I had a card made up for her. She's the chairperson of the event. But then I had some other cards made up for all the committee members. And I just said, hey, here's some cards. Put them in your purse, put them in your wallet, put them in your briefcase. And when you meet on somebody who might be interested in the golf event, just slip them the card with a link to the website. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I think it's a brilliant idea because you run into people all the time and you say, hey, we're having this golf event. And they go, that's great. Maybe I'll register. Well, then they forget about it. So just give them this little card that says, no, you're not going to forget about it. Here's the link. Go here, register for the golf event. I think it's a great idea. And we've already had tremendous success because the Philadelphia Orchestra has so many different events around their orchestra. And they carry these cards and they get people to sign up for the golf event. All right, so when you're putting your packages together, you want to have player packages that are going to be attractive. Why are people going to play in your event? You're asking them financial support. You're asking them to take time away from their family, time away from their business. Let's make it worthwhile. Let's make it fun. You want to have different formats. So this is something to consider because remember, if of all the events out there, 99.9% of the events out there are a 4-person scramble with a box lunch and some awards. Consider doing something a little different. Again, most of the events you have the same, you have the same format. And how long do these things take? I mean, I've been out for some of these events, where it's, 5 hours, 6 hours being dragging around the golf course. I'll tell you what, they're not coming back. The players aren't coming back if they're out there for 6 hours. One of the things I do as a tip for one of my events now, for all of my events, if I'm forced into playing a 4-person scramble, I tell everybody at 4.5 hours, I'm blowing the horn. I don't care where you are on the golf course. We're playing for 4.5 hours, and then we're coming in for cocktails and awards. And so we're never going to go 5 hours. We're not going 6 hours. And people love it. And it's funny how many times they get finished in 4.5 hours because they move a little faster. The key is you want to think about some different formats. So maybe make it different. Again, there's 300,000 charity events. There's more coming. What makes your event different? And like, here's an example of one we're doing for Folds of Honor. We've done this event for 7 or 8 years. And what they did is they convert the golf course into all par 3 holes. So we have 18 par 3 holes. We move the tee boxes up. We have 18 hole-in-one contests. It's a lot of fun. And then we're done in 3.5 hours. And they've sold this event out every year after the first year because people said, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be out there for all hours. I just want to have some fun with my friends, win some prizes. Let's get done in 3.5, less than 4 hours. So again, I'm not going to read this to you, but here's some different options that I'll send along with the presentation that you might want to take a look at. And it just gives you some ideas. Maybe you just do 9 holes of par 3s and 9 regulation. I'm doing one coming up in a month where we're having 14 par 3 holes and 4 regulation holes so they can use their drivers and stuff. But mix it up a little bit. Make your event different so they just aren't going to say, oh, no, not another 4-person scramble. Oh, my goodness, I'm going to be out there all day. I don't have that much time on. So I think about that. And I have a webinar posted on under the resources tab that talks about format options. The other thing you want to think about is what other highlights do you have? So again, I do an event in St. Louis for the Backstoppers every year. And the same day of this event, there's 30 other charity golf events going on the same day, 30 other events. I sell this event out. Why? Because I have more fun for people. So we have a luncheon, we have a putting contest, we have a drone drop. On the course, I have hole-in-one contests. I've got a long drive and excuse me, go back. I've got a TrackMan where I video their swings. I have beer stations. I have liquor stations. I have a tequila station. I bring a taco truck out and put it into the tequila station. I have cigars. Afterwards, we have a reception. We have a shootout for $1 million. And so when people are deciding where to play in St. Louis on this particular day, are they going to come to this event or are they going to go place with a 4-person scramble with a box lunch and some awards? Now, you don't have, this is obviously a higher end event, but our team, my golf event coaches internally, they can help you put together an event that will fit your budget, but has some more fun things to attract players. So when you want to go out to people and say, come on out to my event, we are going to have a lot of fun. Like, for example, last year we started adding this TrackMan to our events. What a great result we've had with this. Because you know at your event, you've done the long drive contest and all that. Excuse me, where they've got that little thing they write on a pencil, the long drive out there. Well, we don't need that for this. We set up the TrackMan. Everybody takes a swing. We have a long drive contest for men, a long drive contest for women, and a guess your distance. And it's all done right from the tee box using TrackMan. Then every player gets a video of their swing sent to them by email after the event, and it has a sponsor logo on the video. So I sell it as a sponsor. This is a fabulous thing to add to your events, and it's new and different, and people will say, wow, I've never done that before. So you got to think about things you can add that are exciting and new. You want to make sure you have a lot of contests for your event. And remember, sponsors are going to cover the cost of your contest. So I make sure that I've got hole-in-one contests, $1 million shots, putting contests, long drive, close to the pin. You know, give people a reason to come to your event. Why am I going to do there? What kind of fun are we going to have at the event? And then one of the things I tell you is, and this one kills me when I go to an event. How many times have you been to the event where they have what's called, I call it the buffet line. So a person goes to the registration desk. Okay, stop 1. Oh, you want to have mulligans? Go to the next table. Stop 2. Oh, you want raffle tickets? Oh, go to the next table. Stop 3. You want to get in the putting contest? Oh, no. Here, stop 3. So 4. So avoid that. What I do is I bundle everything that I'm going to do into a super ticket. So for this event, it was $100. They got an entry into the putting contest, 2 mulligans, and an entry into the ball drop. And then they could buy extra entries. So it was just one stop to buy everything. So what you want to do is customize you can have your own super ticket that says, hey, if you want into the putting contest, you want into the 50-50 raffle, you want mulligans, it's one price. Here you go. And you skip 4 different tables that they have to stop at to get the thing done. When you're doing your hole-in-one contest, remember, we can insure anything you want. We could do probably the most popular one we have going right now. It's a 2027 Ryder Cup, but you can do cash prizes, cooking tour, Italy. We can insure anything you can put a value on. So if you can think of it, we can insure it. And we can use your imagination. For example, you can add different ones. Like, again, this one's really popular now, split the prize hole-in-one contest. So if somebody gets a hole in one, the winner gets $10,000 and your nonprofit gets $10,000. Very important one. And again, you can book all these contests on Perfect Golf Event for your event. But then you get to go and put them on your website. Say, hey, come on out to my event. You could have a chance to win a prize. You can win a trip to South Africa. You could win a cooking tour of Italy, whatever it is. And you can also, what I like, you can also do regional ones. So, for example, I did an event in Philadelphia, and the winner of the hole-in-one contest could go to an Eagles-Packers game, an Eagles-Dolphins game, a Sixers game. And the organizer, once they announced this, they got phone calls from other nonprofits in town saying, where did you get those contests? We want these kind of contests. Well, guess what? We just made them up. The organizer asked us, I need some other ideas. And we said, wait, we'll put this together for you. And so we can customize it to your area. If you're in Denver, Dallas, Chicago, we can put custom contests together tied to your teams. I did one for Ohio State season tickets. And again, I did one for St. Louis when they were going to go play in London. It was a trip to go to London, see the Cardinals and Cubs play. So if you need ideas on hole-in-one contests, just call my team. We'll take care of it. We can insure anything that you can put a value on. And again, if you want, you can download our idea generator. It's got 24 pages of contests and activities that will help you raise more money. Now, a couple of tips before I get into the sponsors. Of all of my events, I do VIP foursomes. And what I do is I said, look, let's say normally to have a foursome would be $250 a player or $1,000. What I'll say is I'm going to have 4 VIP foursomes and it's doubled. It's $2,000, but you're going to get some extra benefits. You'll get VIP parking, check-in area, some shirts. You're going to get a concierge that's going to follow these carts around with liquor, Bloody Marys, cigars, whatever they want. I will tell you this. I sell these out at every one of my events. That's why I limit it to 4, because business people want to take their clients out and give them a VIP experience. So this is just money that drops to the bottom line. So just something to think about. Again, I've been doing it 16 years. We come up some interesting ideas. Hopefully you'll find some of these interesting. Also, a couple things before I get to sponsors. Make sure you have a women's division. Women are such a great supporter of nonprofits and golf. And I learned this about 6 years ago when I had a big event, and the women came up to me afterwards and they basically raked me over the coals for not having a separate women's division. And so I added it, and then all of a sudden, in that event alone, we have about 11 women's teams that play in that event because they are competing with their friends against other women, and it's just something important. If you add a women's division, in fact, I have one going down in next month in Boca Grande, Florida, and in that event, I have a men's division, a women's division, and a co-ed division, and we have prizes in all 3. So those are kind of fun things that get people to say, I want to come out and compete, but I want to compete against my peer group. So just something to think about as you're putting your event together. Make sure if you had the event before that you've got everything out there to people, link to the website. I have a lot of fun when I go out to my players and I said, I'm going to open this website to the public on February 1st. If you sign up by the end of January, I can guarantee you a spot in the event. And all of a sudden people sign up because they want to make sure they don't miss out because the event may have been sold out. So communicate your number. Other things to think about is a preview event. I did this for my Philadelphia Orchestra event. So the event's not till April 2026, but in November, I had a preview event. And what I did is I invited all of the people from the committee to invite potential players and sponsors, and we had a cocktail hour at the golf course. This golf course had a learning center with some golf simulators and some putting area. and we just had cocktails, hit some golf balls, took some putts, and we talked about the event. And it was at the golf course because they could see how beautiful the golf course was. And then we said, hey, if you like the golf course, if you like the cause, come back and join us on April 27th for the golf event. Preview events are a great way to jumpstart your event, to get people, again, your committee has to invite people that potentially could be sponsors. And once they meet other potential sponsors, all of a sudden they're like, hey, let's all get together and play this course in April. I also do a sponsor appreciation for my events. This is one for the backstoppers, again, what I've done for a lot of years in a row. Um, but what I do in June is I have a lunch. We play 9 holes, and then I have a little reception, and I invite all my 2025 sponsors. And I ask them to bring other potential sponsors. And then we just have golf, lunch, and then we talk about the event that's coming up in September. And we say, hey, thanks for supporting us. This is our thank you. For new people, please join us to sponsor so you can be invited back again next year. I have people who say, when's the appreciation event? I make sure I'll sponsor again. I want to make sure I get invited to the appreciation event. So again, you're not going to be able to execute all the ideas I'm giving you, but take some that you think might work for your particular event. If you have an event 2025, you can use our photo gallery. So what I do is I make sure I've got all my photos for 2025. And again, you can upload them in it's a perfect photo gallery. You can upload them. Golfers and sponsors can do it. You can charge a fee and they can do it for free, but it can be sold as a sponsorship. So when anybody sees the photos, the sponsor's name is there. And this is a great tool. It's included with our Birdie, Eagle, Ace packages. But I always make sure when I send it out that, hey, thanks for playing in the 2025 event. And here's a link to the 2026 event. And that's where you're going to find the photos from 2025. So I get a way to lead them in to the 2026 event by saying, hey, if you want to see the photos from 2025, go to the new site. Just an idea as a tip. And again, you can have a donation fee in the photo thing, so they can download the photos for free, but then they can give you a donation. Okay, enough of that. All right, I want to make sure we get into sponsors before we run out of time. Sponsor packages. Make sure you create sponsorship packages to sell. Now, yesterday I did a whole webinar on how to sell sponsorships, and it's been recorded and it's on Perfect Golf Event. If you want to listen to it, that's a whole in-depth one on how to do sponsorships. But make sure you offer enough sponsorship options. So again, most events don't. I want to make sure that you've got a lot. You won't sell them all, but have a bunch of sponsorships so people can find something that fits their budget. And then make sure you've got sizzle in your sponsorships. You're going to tell them what are they going to get before the event, during the event, and after the event. You're asking them for money. They want recognition and a chance to increase their business. So you got to lay it out for them. And then if you want, you can download, again, under the resources tab. I've got the sample sponsorships I use for all my events. This is just the first page, but there's 3 pages. You can adjust the cost to fit your market, but you'll see when I do them that I have a lot of sizzle built in. So look at this. Excuse me. Look at the title sponsor here. Again, you can adjust the cost, but I give them VIP parking, reserve seating, tee off at hole number 1, cover the program, listen to the press release. And guess what? These things don't cost me anything. And yet the sponsor can look at it and say, wow, I'm going to get some real value out of being a sponsor. I can't tell you how many times I look at big sponsorship packages on websites and they offer the person, hey, be my title sponsor for $10,000 and you're going to get your name on the welcome banner. Wow, how fast can I write a check for that? No. You got to get out there with some sizzle. So make sure you download the sponsor packages. So we've got sizzle built into all of them. You can modify to fit your event, but I think you'll find it helpful. All right. And remember, if you use a Perfect Golf Event, you can upload sponsor logos. That's a real benefit. You can put it on the sponsor logos that could link right out to their websites. If you want, I have a sponsor solicitation letter that I use. A lot of times people get emails, they may get a call, but I've had good success mailing a letter. A lot of people, think about when's the last time you actually got a letter signed by a human being? And so I send letters out. I sit down with my committee. We go in one day and we have letters printed out, and then we get a list. We write notes on them. Hey, Bill, please consider the event, whatever it's going to be, and then we mail them. And we get good response because, again, you have to ask yourself, when's the last time, other than a Christmas card, you got a letter signed by somebody asking you to do something? So some of my events, I've set up a YouTube channel, and I have a tour of the golf course, overview of the contest, but then I allow sponsors to post videos if they're a major sponsor about their event. So I've had restaurants, landscaping firms, doctors, medical practices, lawyers give me a little 30 to 60-second video, and I put it on the YouTube channel and say, hey, as part of your sponsorship benefits, you can give me a video that I can put on the YouTube channel. You might want to think of having a sampling area set up at your event for sponsors. Another benefit to give a sponsor. Hey, we're having our event, become a sponsor, and you can set up, it's perfect for restaurants, wine stores, massage spa, massage places, gyms. And they set them up, and people, when they're at the event, can go over and they can try the food, they try the whiskey, some of the restaurant samplings. I've even had a barbecue restaurant that offered to have take-home packages ready after the event. So, hey, finish playing golf. What do you want? I'll have everything ready for you to take home to your family after the event. This is what adds more excitement and interest to your event. Some additional fundraising ideas. Make sure you have an event program. Sometimes you can have discount cards that you'll have with all the sponsors on them. Make sure you're tracking all your sponsors, like I said before. Make sure you're tracking all this so that you're on these forums, so your committee members know what's happening and you can know how you're doing against your progress. Again, if you want to be the top 1% of all the events out there, one of the things you want to do is have some sales training. And what we mean by that is on your committee and on your supporters and staff, you have a lot of people that are non-sales people. They could be human resources, technology, operations people, development people. And what I do is I bring somebody, oh, sorry. Let me see if I got that the right way. Yeah, so I bring someone in, just train the sales team, and I just have them say, look, you're going to know a man or woman in your community that you think is a great salesperson. Ask them to come in and just give your team a little training on how to sell your event. Make sure you know what your objective is. If you know the size of the business, then you can match the potential sponsorship to that. A small restaurant isn't going to be your title sponsor, and a major bank isn't going to be a whole sponsor. So you have some options ready. And then the most important part in sales is to ask open-ended questions. You don't want people calling businesses saying, hey, we're having a golf event in June. Would you like to be a sponsor? Then the person says no. Well, what do you do after that? Especially if you're not in sales, you get a hard no and you're like, well, thanks for consideration. No, what you want to do is call them and say, hey, we're really interested in how you're going to decide to spend your marketing dollars in 2026. And then you be quiet and let them talk. And they'll say, what our goal is, we want to have 15% new customers, and we want an 18% increase in our average ticket sales. And then now the person has just handed you the keys to the kingdom. Say, wow, what a coincidence. We've got a golf event coming up where I think we can introduce you to a bunch of people that are going to be not only new customers, but they have the income to help you increase your average sale price. So listen to people and then feed back to them that the golf event is going to help them meet their objectives. People miss a step. Do this in your top 1%. And then make sure everybody follows up. If the person says, well, could you give me the name of another business that had success at your event? Sure. Most salespeople fail because they don't follow up. Oh, I'm going to follow up with you. Don't worry. And then they never follow up again. So that's why they fail. You need to give some basic sales training. For my events, I developed some talking points. So I have some one-page talking points that tells a little bit about the event, where it's going to be, how far it is from town, all of that stuff. So your people out there selling sponsorships are comfortable with the words. They can say, hey, the event's going to be in June. We're going to be playing at Glen Echo Country Club. I think it's about 10 miles from your business. People are coming from near your zip code. I think the average income's over 100,000. And they do buy a lot of things. They buy cars and medical, and they landscaping and dental and plastic surgery and legal services and accounting services. So give them some things to talk about that says, hey, why is your event's going to be successful? Last couple things about marketing. Marketing event, I have a sample marketing calendar you can download, and this lets you fill in all the things you should be doing and look for any gaps where you're not doing something. And this is one of the things I do with my committee every meeting is, hey, have we done an email blast? Have we made some phone calls? Do we have any mailings going out? What are we doing to promote the event? So make sure you've got a marketing calendar you can review with your committee members, and then track the process on that calendar. I've got it set up so you can plug in your actual and your goal for each month. So you can go back to the committee and say, hey, it's January and we're supposed to have $10,000 already. We don't have anything. What are we going to do in terms of marketing to move that forward? Again, you can download this template on Perfect Golf Event. And I also have my checklist there that I use for my events. So I'll give you some more tips on how to use social media. Sometimes I'll do save the date postcards. Those are helpful. People get something in the mail is different than getting an email blast that might go into spam. This is a big one I've done again, I'm using Philadelphia Orchestra because it's such a good event as an example. But we did a save the date to everybody, directing them to the website just to get on everybody's calendar. You might want to have professional marketing. This is an event that I have coming up. This is from last year. I kind of have it coming up February 5th this year. But, it's a 4-page brochure, very professional. I have it as a PDF form. And we also print some copies that we can leave behind at businesses and drop off. So you might want to have a brochure that helps as well promote your event. And again, make sure that on anything you're doing to market your event, that you've got QR codes. Everybody knows what a QR code is now. They're all over they want you to shoot QR codes on the TV screen. So make sure you've got those. Social media is important. If you use a Perfect Golf Event, we'll help you size the social media images because Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all have different requirements for social media. But once you get these images done, you can give them to your committee member, to your staff, and everybody, and say, hey, please post them on your social media accounts. I had one yesterday for the orchestra. The orchestra posted it for the air event, and it was seen by 11,228 people under their Facebook account. That was huge. So I gave them the image, they posted it, over 11,000 people saw it. So you want to have social media images that you can give to your team to have them get it out there. So that geometrically helps spread the word about your event. And again, sometimes I'll give them some tips of what to put in their messages on email. Maybe send an email out about the event, then send another email to your friends about why we're raising money, etc. But get your people used to communicating to their contacts about your event. I use LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me is probably the most effective social media site because it's a business-to-business site. I mean, I have 700 contacts on LinkedIn. They're linked to me on LinkedIn. I probably know 50 of them. I don't know what the other ones are. But when I post something that I'm going to an event, it goes in front of 700 people that I'm going to have an event or going to an event. So make sure that you ask people to put it on the event on their LinkedIn site. And then when someone registers for my events, I send them a note and said, hey, I see you signed up for the event. If you have a LinkedIn profile, would you mind just putting out there that you're going to be playing in this tournament so all your contacts see it as well? There is no magic one thing you can do to have a successful golf event. You have to do lots of little things well, and if you do that, you'll have a successful event. Create a media kit. You want to have a media kit that has some of the elements you need. When I have a media kit, it's the newspapers aren't going to pick up an article about your event unless you have something really unique, like you're benefiting somebody special. But I use the media kit to help me close sponsorships. I go out to my contacts and I'll say, hey, thanks for the meeting. By the way, here's a copy of our media kit. And if you become a sponsor, we can add you to the media kit. And people will go to me, you have a media kit? What kind of event is this? I said, it's a very serious event, and you're going to get serious recognition. You might want to trade sponsorships for promotion. So like I go to local digital billboard companies, excuse me, and I trade a sponsorship. What does it cost me? A sign? And I say, you can be my official digital billboard sponsor at my golf event. Just put something about my golf event on your billboard. And remember, now they're digital, so they can have 5 different messages rotating. They don't have to paste like the old days. So these are different ways to do it. Last couple steps here. If you haven't done it yet, you might want to have an early bird special. You might want to go out to people now and say, hey, sign up by February 28th and give them some incentive to sign up, just so you know how you're doing, and especially if your events, maybe your events in August or June, July, or August. Get some people signing up early. So sometimes I'll give them an early bird special. An example, here's one that I just did for a women's pro tournament we did, and we gave them, early bird to get free entry in a putting contest and a couple other benefits. So again, early access is something you can do. Last one is when someone registers, ask for referrals. And this one, you want to be in the top 1%. And I don't mean send them an email, call them. I tell people, all my committee members are assigned. Somebody signs up, somebody in the committee, we assign it by alphabet. So if somebody signs up for the last name beginning with C, so-and-so has it. You call them and say, hey, thanks for signing up to play in the event. Do you know anybody else who might be interested? Or thanks for sponsoring. Do you know any other businesses that might be interested? These are all things that help you do it. And I tell you what, if you call them, they're stunned that somebody calls them. Nobody calls anybody. First of all, nobody mails them letters anymore with a personal signature, and nobody calls them. Do these two things to help grow your event. Make sure you've got your email campaign outlined. And if you're using Perfect Golf Event, remember we have the whole marketing template area that you can upload lists, send out email lists out promoting your event. And then the last thing is, if you don't have an auction, you might want to consider an online auction for your event. You could use Perfect Silent Auction as our application. You can raise more money. You can link it to your golf event website. You can add all sorts of donated items to it. I just finished a webinar yesterday, or the day before yesterday, on how to run an online auction. So again, if you go to Perfect Golf Event under the Resources tab, it gives you how to run an online auction and how to find the right products for it. So hopefully you'll find that helpful as well. So action steps. Get your date settled, make sure your committee's right, review all your sponsorship packages, get your projections done, finalize your format, set up your website, open registration, implement your marketing plan. And then if you have questions, our team can help you with any questions. And then we can go from there. Again, if you're interested afterwards, if you want a copy of the presentation, you can just email me and I'll send it to you. And we have also recorded this, which we'll post that the next day or so. So again, thanks for listening. Have a great event, and hope I'll join me for future webinars. And hopefully Perfect Golf Event can help you have a great event. Thanks again.